Welcome to the Scaling Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Harper, and today's guest is Adam House. Adam runs a company called House of Bricks, which is an online community for founders, entrepreneurs, athletes, and people who want to kind of level up. He's started 7 different businesses and had 3 exits, which we talk a lot about that. We talk about his family and growing his family at the same time of growing a business. We talk about the mindset necessary in order to be a successful founder. We talk about the challenges of building a personal brand versus time management versus a bunch of different stuff. You're really going to enjoy this episode, so make sure to stay to the end. Adam, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. Very excited to be here.
Yeah. I remember going on your podcast, had a great time, so figured we'd turn the tables a little bit and have you come on mine.
Well, I appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So, for the audience that doesn't know you, let's catch them up to speed a little bit. You and I have talked, but how'd you get into entrepreneurship? When did you start? Talk to me a little bit about some of the companies that you've launched. I know you've had some exits, so would love to get into as much of that as we can.
Yeah, well, we were talking before the show started. Everyone talks about the highlights of being an entrepreneur. You go on LinkedIn profiles. I started this company on this date, exited on this date. But what people don't realize is the real life of an entrepreneur happens in the in-between, right? Mm-hmm. So it's the building, the grinding, living in the struggle zone. You'd ask me why I do what I do. I really don't know. I just had the honor of working for Dan Gilbert, my junior and senior year of high school. So if you don't know who he is, founder of Rocket Mortgage, owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers and 100 other companies. But at the time, it was early 90s, and they were really disrupting the mortgage industry. And it was really like a crash course MBA and being an entrepreneur, being in that environment. Went to college for a year, dropped out, figured that wasn't for me. Then moved down to South Florida, started my first business out of my apartment, couple $100, sold it for a multi-million-dollar exit 2007. Started a mobile technology company that was acquired for close to 30 times revenue, 18 months, idea to exit. Wow. Now, the cool part about my story is at 32, I had a midlife crisis. So a lot of people go buy a Ferrari or spend it on, crazy things. And after I'd exited my tech company, I played basketball in high school and a year of college. And I was like, I bet if I trained, I was actually going to do an Ironman first, which the running, no problem, biking, no problem, got in the pool, swam down and back. And I'm like, I am a land animal. So I looked at that training, conditioning, nutrition. I said, if I put that same effort into basketball, I bet I can make some semi-pro team. And my wife was just like, yeah, whatever keeps you out of the house. So for 6 months, I got a strength coach, nutritionist, skills coach, and then ended up actually making a minor league basketball team at 32 years old, the Rochester, New York Razor Sharks.
That's amazing.
The best part about the story is word got out about my entrepreneurial background, and I got a call from the owner of the team, and he's like, Adam, what are you doing all day? Practice is only an hour and a half. Why don't you help me come in and run the team? So they actually made me CEO, co-owner, and I was a player on the team. So I helped them land a deal with Nike, did that for a year, started a healthcare analytics company that went public, and now I have the House of Bricks Advisory. So we help startup founders, early stage, kind of seed to Series A, position themselves for investment capital or an exit at some point.
That is awesome. What was it like becoming a pro basketball player at 32 years old?
Outside of my wife and 4 kids, I mean, it was my greatest accomplishment. It was just a lifelong dream to play basketball, and then also to be able to tie in the business side of it. It was just amazing experience.
That's awesome. So did you have to move for that and travel around a bunch for games and stuff?
I did, but if you know anything about pro sports, the delta between the life in the NBA versus minor leagues, it couldn't be any further apart. So you're not on private jets, you're on a charter bus from Rochester, New York to Dayton, Ohio, or Chicago, or so 9-hour, 10-hour bus rides. And I think our per diem was maybe $25 a day. So I wanted to be one of the team guys would go to Walmart, get a rotisserie chicken and a gallon of water. But yeah, I mean, it was an amazing experience, but did it for a year and then kind of had to grow back up.
So let's go back to the first business that you launched. What was the concept? What did it do? I know you were working at Rocket Mortgage, so this was after working at Rocket Mortgage. You went and decided to launch this.
Yeah, I dropped out of college after my freshman year, and when I was at Rocket, it was Rock Financial at the time. Now it's Rocket Mortgage, but I learned a lot about the mortgage lead business. So my first business, we were actually selling leads to mortgage companies, and
Okay.
it was right time, right place, refi boom from '99 to 2007. I sold it in May of 2007, right before
Good
the
time to sell.
financial crisis. Yeah.
Yeah. What was that process like, selling your first company?
A lot of unknown, a lot of what if this does not happen. And I also learned the distraction that potential acquirers can create for founders. So they come
Right.
in, they wave a big check, you get all this excitement, oh, I'm going to get millions of dollars, and then you take your eye off the ball of
Sure.
running your business, which is where having a good advisor, depending on the size of the company, I mean, you can have an investment banker, but
Did you use a banker or no?
we did not. We were in high demand, heavy cash flow business. There were some rumblings of the financial crisis, but nothing to the degree of what actually happened. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so you sell that company. How long is it between that company and the next one? And what happens was that when was it another company and then the basketball team?
Yeah, so I sold Direct Marketing Associates in 2007. Then
Okay.
in 2008, we launched a company called Velocitude. So if you remember back in 2008, 2009, you'd go out and spend $700 on a new iPhone, right? And
Yep.
most of the websites were designed for desktop size screens. So we
Okay.
developed a technology to optimize an existing website to be viewed on a mobile
an iPhone.
device. And because back then there was a lot developed in Flash, so you'd see all those blue squares all over your phone. It's like, what is
remember.
this? Yeah.
I remember it
And
was
so,
unpleasant to go online for a while on your phone.
yeah, they were just designed for a desktop size screen. So you're scrolling, you're pinching, and it's not formatted for that size screen. And so we developed a technology that would reformat your existing website to be functional on mobile devices, create a great mobile experience. And so we acquired, I think, maybe 10 or 12 of our first 15 clients were all Fortune 100, 500 companies, right time, right place, and then ended up getting acquired by Akamai Technologies, who's a multi-billion-dollar public company in Boston.
And that was only 18 months later?
Yes. Yeah.
What was the revenue? I mean, how quickly were you able to grow that thing, and what did you grow it to?
Well, they were trying to grow. I can't share the numbers, but they were essentially looking at us as a way to accelerate their pace into the mobile technology space. So everyone was
Sure.
trying to get into mobile. We were more of a product acquisition. We did have decent revenue. Early stage company. We're barely profitable.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Because I mean,
Yeah.
18 months on any company, you're reinvesting and reinvesting. So it must have been a strategic acquisition.
Yeah, definitely speed to market.
Yeah, very cool. What were some of the constraints that you had to work through in that business?
Well, it's funny. I just spoke at a conference in Lake Tahoe, and it was a lot of manufacturing companies, CPG, large companies. But with the entrepreneurial mindset and to be an entrepreneur, you don't necessarily have to own your own business. You can have an entrepreneurial mindset. And so you mentioned constraints. When you're early stage, what are the constraints? Sales and cash. That's what every
Sales and
founder
cash,
wants.
yeah.
We want sales and cash. But in a big organization, you can still take risks and think entrepreneurially without having to disrupt the entire apple cart. So just making percentages up, whether it's 5%, 10%, you take a percentage of that budget, and we have a methodology we teach called testing, failing, learning, and growing. So you're continuing to iterate. The more decisions you make, the more data you get back. The more data you get back, the better decisions you can make going forward. So using that within yourself as a leader, I'm going to lead through a test, fail, learn, grow. And how you process failure as a leader is how your team is going to process it. So if you don't live from a place of, hey, I want to fail and learn, then your team is going to have that, CYA mentality. Why would I take risks? I've got a job, I got a 401k.
Sure.
So it's just those incremental movements based on the stage of your company.
What was different about selling this company than the other one? Whether it's process or your mindset or anything.
Well, on this business, I did have an advisory board. So
Okay.
I have built my career on relationship capital, which I view as the most valuable capital
Yep.
in the world. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And so my advisory board, very experienced in building, selling, and exiting companies. And so they played a strategic role in that. I did not have an official banker, although we did have an investment banker on our advisory board.
Got it. So did you raise for that business at the beginning and that's how you got your advisory board, or how did you find your advisory board?
My advisory board were just relationships. I was living in South Florida at the time, got connected with the Huizinga family, which they own most of South Florida. So just, again, meeting the right people. He was mentoring me, connecting me with some advisors. And in reference to raising capital, I bootstrapped it all the way until a month before we started discussions with Akamai. So I had an investor put money in and called him 45 days later and said, great news, I think you doubled or tripled your money. He's like, what are you doing next? So,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I raised capital for Rolling Suds and was very strategic in bringing in people who had done this before, that wanted to invest their money. It's not a fund, and these are people who have mentored me in the past before. And I think having a solid advisory board is one of the biggest unlocks for a founder. Because there's been times where I'm like, I don't know what to do, and I call them, and they're like, "Here's what you do." So I'm always interested to learn about other founders who put together advisory boards and how they kind of think through that.
Yeah, everyone, and I'm not promoting my own book, whether you have, no matter how good you are as an entrepreneur, everyone needs advisors. If Michael Jordan needs a basketball coach and Tiger Woods needs a swing coach, I think you can get a coach as an entrepreneur. It's just, they're able to, or advisor, they're able to see things in the business, just like a coach can see things in the game that the player can't. And they're a good sounding board as a founder. You're emotional, you're wrapped up in the business, you're sweating payroll on Friday. So a lot of short-term decisions to try to put money in the bank that can have long-term negative impacts.
So at the time that you decided to train to become a pro basketball player, you had just exited that company. What was the motivation behind doing that?
Well, first of all, the first 2 weeks, so I'm the typical entrepreneur visionary. I come up with all the ideas and love to delegate to other people. But the one person you don't want to delegate to is your wife. So it was about 2 weeks of that, and she just looked at me one day and she's like, you need to go get a job. I don't care if you're a barista at Starbucks, but you need to get a job. And so when Akamai acquired my company, we had to move from South Florida to Boston, Ironmans, triathlons, all that. I'm an athlete. I wanted to have something to compete in, and then just decided to shift that effort towards basketball, and it ended up working out.
So did you know that I'm training for an Ironman right now? I'm not sure if
I did not know that.
Yeah. So I'm in a similar, I don't know if it's the same exact spot, but mentally, like, I just hired a professional since you and I spoke, hired a professional CEO to run my company.
Okay.
So I have no day-to-day responsibilities in my business. I create a lot of content, but I'm going to do that regardless. It helps drive lead flow for prospective franchisees, bring awareness to the brand, get supplier discounts and relationships, and as we pursue more national accounts now. We get some recognition from my socials. But I was like, the best use of my time is like to go from 0 units or 1 corporate owned unit to 300 is a very different skill set than going from 300 to 600. Like it's like fundamentally a different person that has different abilities. So I knew I was never going to be the guy to do that, to be the 300 to 600 guy. And so I hired a professional CEO who's been doing operational, like he's been a franchisor operations savant for like 22 years, right? Significantly longer than I've been in franchising. And so when I did that, I'm very similar to you in that, like, I'm a visionary. Like, I have all these ideas, and you leave me alone with my ideas, and I'm going to start a company within 4 hours, you know?
Right.
And, but for me, I was like, well, I just spent the last 3 years or 2.5 years getting this business to where it is now. I really am not in a position where I want to just start a new one. And so what am I going to do to keep myself busy? And I've done the sprint triathlon since 2019. And I was like, you know what? I'll train for an Ironman. And so and then I'll create content about it daily, and I can put out content that shows like, hey, starting a business is hard, training for an Ironman is hard, what we do at Rolling Suds is hard, but as a result, we become hardened and we become successful as a result. And so I'm about I started training in July. So I hired a coach, just like you did for your basketball. He trains professional athletes. This is the logo for Working Triathlete, which is the team that he runs with 300 athletes nationwide. And he gives me workouts every day. I've got a strength coach as well, that I train with 3-4 days a week, and just have made it like it's a part-time job, training for this stuff, but it keeps me busy, and it gives me a lot of time to reflect, and gives me a goalpost, which it sounds like you really can resonate with.
Yeah, I have just, I don't know why, not a fan of swimming. I mean, I'm not going to drown in the pool, but I was just like, this is too much. I was gassed after 1 lap. Like I can run 10 miles, no problem. I just don't get tired running or biking, but the pool I was like, this is just not for me.
It is not fun, the pool part. Yeah, I mean, I've been training, for 4 months, and I've only gotten in the pool a handful of times, which I know is a huge missed opportunity. But I have so much confidence in these other disciplines, and the only thing that I could do to get confidence in swimming is to do it over and over again.
Yeah.
So been kind of working through like a training block on that. But my Ironman is November of next year. My half Ironman is May of next year. So I'm taking time with it so that I could kind of do it the right way and not injure myself, and have the right amount of build and all that kind of stuff.
Well, good luck on that. Let me know how it goes.
I will.
I'm too old to try basketball again, but I'm not ready to sign up for swimming.
So when you were doing the basketball, how you had 4 kids at that time when you were 32? Or
I had 3 at the time. So
okay.
I think they were 5'3", 2-ish in that range.
And then when did you have your 4th?
He was born in 2013, so that was when I had launched my healthcare analytics company. So after basketball, it was literally one of those napkin to reality moments. Just like you, I can make things happen, come up with ideas. Met a non-practicing physician for lunch one day. Actually got connected to him through my advisory board. He's like, Adam, I want to build this analytics platform. I have no idea how to do it, but this is what it looks like. And he really drew it on a napkin. I want to do peer-to-peer comparison, quality performance, cost per episode of care. And he's like, Adam, can you get this done? I said, absolutely. Did I know how I was going to do it? Absolutely not. So just took the idea, went home, sent an email out to my database, said, hey, does anyone have a background in healthcare? And one guy replies, and who replies? The cameraman from the Rochester Razor Sharks. He had just moved to the United States from South Africa, and he ran a healthcare analytics database in South Africa. So he knew claims data, knew how to build it, and we were able to get our prototype to market.
So that was a very different business than some of these other ones because you're building product first, right?
Yes, we built product first. Some similarities to Velocity, the mobile tech company, but the difference is if you've ever done anything in healthcare, it is death by a long sales cycle. So I was funding this business as well. I'm used to transactional 2 months, 3 months for deals to close. But in healthcare, you could meet with Blue Cross in January and say, hey, we're going to help you save money on your South Florida health plan, millions of dollars. They'll say, great, come back in September. Well, it's January. Our burn rate's $100,000 a month. I'm funding it. So I'm like, January, February, March, all the way to September. I'm like, that's $1 million. Like, can we do this right now? And so that business was very difficult for me. We went through multiple funding rounds. It finally did go public. My 50%, if you've ever gone through that process, was whittled way down to some crumbs on the table, but it was still a great experience to take a concept from Napkin to NASDAQ.
So let's dive into that a little bit. So you launched that in 2013, about the same time you have your fourth kid. Is your wife stay at home with the kids?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So how's she feeling at this point in time?
With 4 boys, 7 companies, we've gone through a lot of moves.
What were some of, before we get into that business, what were some of the ones that didn't work out? It says you had 7. I don't know. I mean, it sounds like you've had some good exits. What were some of the ones that didn't work out? What happened?
Well, none of them worked out. 3 just ended well. So, okay. I mean, it's really not, it's a grind. If you know this, being a founder, it takes everything you have. There's no such thing as work-life balance. It's work-life integration. And so they all face their different struggles at different times. The most difficult one, I would say, didn't work out was, and it wasn't a huge investment. We were selling supplements on Amazon in between one of the companies, but it was just, we were underfunded in a very competitive market.
Yep.
Selling anything on Amazon, if you're not on page 1, you might as well not be on it. So we went through some of the boostings and ads and all that, just ended up, I think, selling it for about what we put into it. But that was definitely underfunded and something you really can't control. You can't control. Everyone's trying to figure out Amazon, the algorithm. Everyone's got a gimmick. Everyone's got a hack. And we bought into some of those, and none of them, of course, worked out. But that was probably the toughest business that didn't work out.
And you said 7. So we've talked about 4 so far. So what were the other 3?
So we've got Direct Marketing Associates, Velocitude, Qualmetrics. Purely Grown was the supplement company. I started doing coaching, helped start a roofing sales training company in the trades. So you're familiar with the trades, obviously. Very cash-heavy businesses, very poor systems and process, and sales and sales strategy. So that was a great market to get into, cash-heavy business. They needed sales training. We helped their sales grow. And then after Sales Transformation Group, then I started House of Bricks about 2 years ago, just as a podcast like we're doing here today. But then as people heard my story, and I was also the chaplain for the Miami Heat when we lived in Miami, so I had a lot of contacts in the NBA. I was able to get some premier guests on the show, top business people, CEOs, athletes, and people started to reach out to me. Hey, Adam, can you be my coach? Can you be an advisor? So we started offering advisory services. Not everyone could afford the advisory services. So I'll take back the supplement company being the second or the hardest thing I've done, which the most difficult thing I've done is try to build a personal brand and try to build a community. So
Around that.
yeah, it is just people don't get it. You're the product,
Hmm.
and speaking, writing, coaching, community calls. How often do you have them? We have them too often, not enough. It's like being the pastor of a church leading a community. No one's happy. Like the
Yeah.
music's too loud. Why do you ask for the offering? How come you don't have text to give? Like, so that was, difficult. We ended up building it to about 50 members, which was all curated,
Yeah.
best in class people. And when I say best in class, not your resume, but just being growth minded and want to build with other people. So it was worth the effort. It was just definitely the most difficult thing I've done.
Yeah. Okay, let's come back to that because I have a ton of questions on personal brand. It's obviously something I'm doing as well, and would love to share war stories. But so the company that you took public, you have your newborn at that point. You've got a napkin, and you're like, this is what I want to build. You go to your wife, you say, this is what I want to build. And did you have a partner? What did she say? Like, was it just you? Like you said,
Yeah,
you
it was kind of
raised.
like this is the next step. But and what was this? 2014. So we'd been 13 years plus together. She knew what the movie was.
Yeah, she'd starred in it and
Yeah,
played in it before.
she's seen this movie. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, my partner was the doctor I met for lunch. We were 50-50 partners.
Okay.
He had the domain expertise. I was going to build the team, and
Cool. So, so how many rounds did you do of capital raising?
we did friends and family, seed, Series A, and then Series B, like you talked about earlier. I'm a concept to reality CEO. So, there's different types of founders or evolution that you go through. You start as a solopreneur, add a
Yep.
couple team members, now you're an entrepreneur, and then you're an entrepreneur to Series A, kind of Series B, then you need a different type of CEO.
Yep. Okay. So, so had you had not raised capital before at that point, right? Because you bootstrapped.
We had the
first.
one investor in Velocity, but yeah, I'd never raised capital. I always bootstrapped everything, but in an industry like healthcare and trying to displace large analytics
Yeah.
technologies out there, you're just underfunded unless you're sitting on $20 million to pour into the business.
So how did you structure the raises, and how did you go to market to raise?
For friends and family, it's just phone calls, people that,
So you did friends and family first.
yeah, to
For the
start.
pre-seed? Okay.
Pre-seed, and people that have watched me over my career, pretty easy phone calls. Then when you get to the seed stage, they're a little bigger checks.
Yep.
So people pay more attention. Okay, where's this really going? And then Series A was still high net worth individuals. And then actually on our Series B round, we had one individual investor put in the full 5 million. So
Okay.
it wasn't any VC money.
Okay, so Series B, you had one major investor. So by Series B, you had how many investors at that point? How many K1s were you ready?
Off the top of my head, probably 10.
10?
So
Okay, that's not
the
too
people
bad.
that invest the least are the biggest.
I know.
Hey, I just sent you $50,000 yesterday. How's it going? Like,
Yeah.
fine. The wire just hit.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, it's going to take a while.
yeah, you guys looking to exit soon? Like, no. But and then the guys that understand it, in that 100, 200 range, they're going to place 10 bets and hope one or two work.
Yeah. So at Series B, is that when you said you stepped away as CEO?
I did.
Okay.
And then started the supplement business, did the coaching, then took an EVP job at Rocket, kind of full circle, went back to work for
That's
them
interesting. Okay, cool.
during COVID. They needed someone to run one of their business units. So I was there for about 16 months.
Okay. Cool. So, from the point after you did the Series B raise, the $5 million raise, how long until you went public from that point later? And
They
was
actually
that your
didn't.
decision?
They went public, I think, in 2022. So
Oh, wow.
they did a SPAC deal, rolled in some other entities, and then used a corporate shell and went public, I think, 2022. So it was a run.
So you were totally removed by 2016 or whatever it
Yeah.
was. Okay. So you kind of got it to where it needed to go and then stepped away.
Yes.
What was that like for you to step away from your baby?
For that one, I was relieved. Like, we made it, dude. Get me out of here. You know.
Yeah.
So we got to where I got it to where I needed to be. So it's fulfilling and also exciting to move on
Yeah.
to the next stage.
Yeah. We're much earlier on currently, but me stepping away as CEO has also been a big relief, you know? It's just growing a company's hard, and getting, we went from being in one state to 35 states in 2 years. And I was just like, this is my skill set is strategy, sales, marketing, content creation, ideation, and the CEO is implementation, and resource allocation, and recruiting and training and retaining high level team members.
Right.
And a 0 to 200 or 0 to 100 franchisor is in a lot of ways a move fast and break things. You have to be. You're starting something from nothing. But we needed to bring someone in that could kind of make it so that we could go to that next kind of phase. And it's been, and also my wife and I just had our third baby. So he's four and a half months now, old. So I stopped being the CEO about the same time that we had our third baby, which, when I launched the company, my daughter, my second baby, was born about 6 weeks prior to acquiring the brand and turning it into a franchise. So the first year of her life, it was like I was gone. Mentally, I wasn't there. I wasn't present, even if I was there. And I kind of just wasn't willing to make that trade again. And it was right for the business.
Yeah, and I always tell people, recognize what season you're in, and that is with your business, with your family, with your finances. You have to understand, to build something, there will be collateral damage in the process. And I don't think there's a right answer. It's something you have to go through the process in with yourself. Is it better to be with my kids when they're young or when they're old? I've had different seasons of both, and you just have to have that self-awareness, right? Like, so, okay, is it important for me to go to the playground with my kids, or is it more important when they're 16 and I get a call from the police, I need to go pick them up? Like, so, like, which is more important? And there isn't a right answer.
And your oldest right now is 16?
He's 19. So they're 19, 17, almost 16, and 13. So
wow. So you got one out of the house and the other one's getting ready to get out of the house. What do they like to do? Well, all the kids.
All four boys played hockey. So when we were living in Boston,
wow.
I thought I would end up with all basketball players, but my oldest decided to play street hockey and fell in love with hockey, and the others just followed suit. But any sport is great for life. You learn the politics, teamwork, competing, showing up, discipline, accountability. So that's what I love about sports, is it teaches those disciplines that can carry over for the rest of your life.
Yeah. That's how I learned growing up. A lot of the stuff that I know today. So you mentioned this earlier. relationship capital being really important to you. How has that, if you could explain that, relationship capital to the audience, like they're a third grader. Not to say that my audience are third graders, but I usually will say the best way to explain something is the most easy, simple way. I know what it means, but would love to hear your take, and then also how it's helped you tactically get to where you're at today.
It's something I just shared about at the keynote speech. And if you follow me on Instagram or LinkedIn or House of Bricks, I talk about the relationship capital flywheel. And what that means essentially is there's really 4 components to it. The first is a mentor. You got to have someone that is where you want to go. When someone accomplishes something, they carry a universal authority to bring you from where you are to where they are, and how to get there. And not that they can make it easy, but you can skip some of the mistakes and failures that they've made to learn from that. So you've got your peers, your mentor. Then you want to have peers that you're climbing the mountain with. Like you and I, we're both entrepreneurs. We're building our personal brand. Who am I climbing the mountain with? We talked about community briefly. That was really the mission of the House of Bricks, was to help people build relationship capital. We've got investors, venture capitalists, entrepreneurs, athletes, all within our community. And you never know what that one conversation that you have, we're all one conversation away from changing our lives forever, having it with a mentor or a peer. And then the third component, where a lot of people miss out, is actually mentoring other people. So the power of giving, I believe you get back 10 times what you give. And so mentoring other people, and don't disqualify yourself because you're not a CEO or a founder. You don't think that you have something to offer. Even if you work at a gas station, you can help someone that doesn't have a job get a job at a gas station. So everyone has someone that they can mentor. And then the most important part of the relationship capital flywheel is you. So self-leadership is the best form of leadership. If you're spinning out of control, you're going to burn out your mentor, the peers alongside you, and you certainly can't mentor someone else. So start with self-leadership. It was a mistake I made in building the House of Bricks. I'm a very giving person, but what people don't realize is you can't pour from an empty cup. So
Sure.
If you're not investing in yourself, then it's very difficult to authentically and transparently lead other people. So that's the relationship capital flywheel. And that is how I've built my success over my career, is just having the right relationships, investing in other people, and it comes back to you full circle.
Yeah. So how many people do you mentor on a regular basis, would you say?
Well, now it's my profession. So before, I just did it out of being a good person. But what I realized is when people don't pay for something, whether it's $1, $1,000, $100,000, they don't value it. And
Sure.
it's just a fact. When you exchange currency for something, you pay attention to it. And so now I've got a handful of advisory clients that we're helping with exit readiness, getting ready maybe to raise capital, sales and marketing strategy. Those advisory services probably have 8 to 10 clients right now, and then 50 members in the House of Bricks community.
And do you put it on school, or how do you centralize the community?
We tried Learn Worlds, we tried Mighty Networks, ended up on school. And what I found with the community is people don't really want another place that they have to go, post, comment, all of that. So getting engagement within the school platform was very difficult, because they're updating their LinkedIn, they're on Instagram, they're on Facebook. Now it's like, okay, now I got to go post in the House of Bricks community. And so we've actually transitioned our community over to Substack. So
Okay.
It's a very intuitive newsletter type platform, but there's community functions in there. So we lowered the cost, just me creating content. We have people that write within the House of Bricks Substack newsletter in addition to me. So trusted advisors, maybe in manufacturing, they want to contribute once a month. So really trying to broaden the platform and make it less on me, where I have to come up with community calls every week, every 2 weeks, once a month. It's just putting everything in the Substack newsletter has been very valuable for people.
So why build a personal brand? Like, and what led you to decide to do it?
Well, I actually never wanted to build a personal brand. I never wanted my name in lights. And of course, now my name is in lights behind me. But what really was the transformation for me was that my story is not really about me. It's how it can impact other people. And
Sure.
so if it's a voice of inspiration, motivation, transformation, and giving people that resilient mindset, turning obstacles into stepping stones, brick by brick is what we say. You can either carry life's experiences with you like bricks and they weigh you down, or you can lay them down and build a strong foundation, so that turning obstacles into stepping stones is really the mission. So that is why I started it, and it's just continued to evolve. But again, it is very difficult. There's so many people doing it. And of course, you've got the people out there like, yeah, I jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge and I was rescued by SEALs. Like, that's a cool freaking story. You're getting on every stage you want to get on. People want to hear that. But for me, it is a great story, but everyone has a great story. And
Sure.
I want to encourage people out there listening, understand that your story and a way that you tell it can impact people in a way that maybe I can. So the more all of us share this, the ripple effect can get quite expansive.
I also didn't want to build a personal brand. I think like many people had this kind of like negative perception of it. I was like, I don't want to get on camera, and I'm gonna have to be inauthentic, and I'm gonna have to try to like draw attention and not be myself. And so for the first like 10 months of launching this company, I didn't. I mean, I wrote on LinkedIn sometimes, but I was certainly not behind the camera. I was not making it like a process oriented like element of my life. And what I realized is that building a business and the mission of the company that you create, ultimately, it isn't about me. It's serving my franchisees and my shareholders and my employees. And so if there's a thing that I can do that then will allow me to accomplish that mission faster, then it doesn't matter what I think about whether or not I should do it, because my duty is to like I said, to my franchisees and my shareholders and my employees. So you ask yourself, like, would I be able to have a bigger impact on the business if I had an audience versus not having an audience? And the answer is a resounding yes. With an audience, you'd be able to make a bigger impact. And so at the end of 2023, we started investing a lot of my time in doing it. I was doing sales for my company up until April of 24. In April of 24, I stepped out of sales, hired a sales team, and had kind of this thesis that if I invest my time and energy in content, we would decrease our largest outgoing expense, which is our cost to acquire a new franchise owner, which would then allow us to not only pay for a sales team, but also allow us to kind of recruit executives at a very high level early on in what a brand is normally able to be able to do at this stage of a franchisor. And we were fortunate in that's exactly what happened. We went from 7% of our franchise sales revenue coming from content and organic in 2023 to 42% in 24. And that allowed us to now invest in national accounts and all of these other things that we're doing to help us kind of get to that next level. And so that's why this year we said, well, let's go all in on this. Let's, launch a website, aaronharper.com. Let's launch a podcast. Let's look at what it would do to do a newsletter, and really kind of like invest more in it. so that we can continue to decrease our cost to acquire a franchisee. And now I try to tell people to do this all the time. If you run a company, like, you're doing something that only a small percentage of the world does. So share your story in an interesting way online, and it'll end up kind of working out. So yeah, it's a big part of our strategy moving forward.
Yeah, and from a consumer standpoint, they want to connect with humans. And if you do own a business, people want to see your face. They want to hear from you. They want to connect with you. And even on LinkedIn, no one cares about your trade shows or your next product you're launching. They want to hear from you as a thought leader, how you think about things. And that was a shift I made on LinkedIn that really created a huge impact for me in the House of Bricks.
What was the shift? What were you doing before, and then what did you shift to?
Just before, I hate social media, so even just getting on it, I was like, oh my gosh. So I had to have someone else managing it, which you can do, but especially on LinkedIn, what would happen is I had a VA commenting or sending people invites, and I'd see somebody at a conference I'm speaking at. They're like, yeah, I just messaged you on LinkedIn. So with LinkedIn, I had to manage my own, and again, made that shift from, hey, the House of Bricks community is this versus more now, what does it mean to be a leader? What does it mean to be an entrepreneur? How do you process failure? How do you think like an entrepreneur within the constraints of a big company? Those are the things that really resonated with people that are interesting.
Your ideas, basically. Like your ideas, like the things that come from your brain, putting those out there versus promoting a product or a brand that some people may like, some people may not. Essentially.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, if I just stood up there and talked about rolling suds all day long, no one would listen. They'd be like, this guy's just peddling his brand. And while a lot of the stuff obviously ties to rolling suds, because that's my experience, that's what I'm sharing through my experience, most of my stuff is just me sharing the ideas that I have in my brain, and that's it. And I think that with AI being so prevalent these days, personal brand is even a higher leverage activity to do now than it's ever been. And doing it in a way that is incredibly authentic. Because you see so much AI slop with the dashes and the this and the, it's not about this, it's about that. And like, it's just exhausting to read that stuff and be like, wait, I thought that I was like following real people. But then the content's like, no, this isn't a real person anymore. Like, this is literally like someone else is writing stuff from AI.
Yeah, and they're easy to spot, so people will pick it out. It has made it more difficult with the volume that you can produce, but it's still not. It also can make it easier because people are like, wow, this guy's actually on LinkedIn. He's actually responding to my comments. So it's not about volume on LinkedIn. It's really easy to get caught up in number of connections and engagement. If you're just consistent and yourself, you'll build a following over time.
So when you launched House of Bricks, what was the thesis then, and has it changed since then?
We've gone through a couple pivots, typical founder style, testing, failing, learning, and growing. We still have the podcast featuring CEOs, athletes, investors, and one of our huge initiatives that I didn't touch on is veterans. So my grandfather, he was in World War II, huge impact in my life. And I've always wanted to serve and give back to veterans, but never had a platform to do it. And so one of our core bricks within the House of Bricks is empowering veterans to transition from the battlefield to the boardroom.
Okay.
And that is something we just launched this summer. So you'll like this, typical Adam House style. Saturday morning, I wake up and I have this Ford Raptor, and I bought it when I was living in South Dakota. We had 36 acres. It made a lot of sense. Like, this is fun. Let's take the Raptor out. And then we moved back to Birmingham, Michigan. This is like suburbia,
Sure.
small downtown, and it looks literally like a military vehicle. It's this green wrap, and it's got Black Ops on it, and this Green Beret logo and all that. And one morning I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I've never even I've shot a couple guns. Like, I'm not a veteran. Like, I'm an entrepreneur. I live in Birmingham. And so I came up with this idea called What the Truck. And so we donated the Ford Raptor to a veteran. He did 14 tours in Iraq.
Wow.
And we put House of Bricks on the side of the truck and took it down to Fort Knox on July 4th. But we're using it as a vehicle to raise awareness for PTSD and veteran suicide, which the VA right now spends $500 million on it. And that was billion with a B, which sounds like a lot, but in this grand scheme of things, like, it's not even making a dent. In fact, things are getting worse, not better. And all the prescription drugs and pharmaceutical companies are kind of mixed in there. And so we're really working with veterans to find out what would actually help them, as opposed to what we think would help them. So we're launching another big push here coming up on Veterans Day, but we've got a couple sponsors. It's great. What I have learned too is everyone says they want to help veterans, but when it comes down to actually taking action, it's just like anything else. So hoping that with this vehicle, it will be a vehicle to really make an organic, transparent, authentic movement for What the Truck.
What are some of the treatments or methodologies that maybe could work better than some of the pharmaceuticals? I've heard of like Ibogaine being like a big thing. I don't know if you've dug into that at all, or if there's anything that What the Truck is doing to help people find other solutions than what they might be being given by the VA.
Yeah, we try to stay in our lane. There are some good organizations, VSOs out there that we're looking to partner with. So we're not going to actually be the ones advising, guiding, but more partnering with trusted organizations, because there are a lot of bad actors, just like in everything else, taking advantage of veterans. Like I heard this ad the other day. It's like, oh, we're running a roofing sales special on Veterans Day. Every veteran can come in and get a free quote on your roof. It's like, dude, you're just trying to sell them all a new roof. Yeah. So it's a fine line, though. You need money to do things. And I think people do want to help. It's really just digging in and how we can help. But there are plenty of alternatives besides prescription drugs, pharmaceuticals. Like, they've really been used as lab rats for decades, from vaccines to prescriptions. And so there's alternatives out there, mushrooms, THC, some of those things, but I'm certainly not an expert in it.
Got it. So your original thesis was podcast, get out there, share the leadership frameworks and things that you have learned over the years in your entrepreneurial, and then things have shifted just with the veterans, or did they shift in other ways as well?
Yeah, our core brick. So still got the podcast, community through Substack newsletter. Again, a lot of great content in there. I have my Startup X course I created, teaching how to get your first 100 customers, how to go to market, business modeling strategy. So just the basics to build the foundation in a startup business. And then we do our business advisory. So if you're looking to raise capital, sales and sales strategy, investor readiness, you're looking to exit your business in 2 years. Like, exiting your business is not like putting your house up for sale. You just put a sign in the yard. There's months and months of preparation. And I've seen founders leave millions on the table by not having the proper financial model, growth strategy, valuation. So getting that stuff ready. And what it will do is give you a target. So you're here now, you want to exit for this price. It's how do we get there? It gives you focus on how to build that valuation.
So what does your team look like to kind of provide that level of, I mean, it sounds like pretty like concierge level service to a lot of these, and it's a needed thing for a lot of founders.
It is. We started with just this Startup X course, and I was doing weekly coaching, which was great. But the problem with startups is they have no money. So it's not a great business model. So we shifted more to the seed to Series A. They have clients, they have revenue. And like you mentioned, making that transition from solopreneur, entrepreneur, founder to a CEO. A lot of our services will help you without having to go hire some high ticket CEO. We can kind of coach you how to think about things a little bit differently and to package your business in the right way.
So, what does your kind of day-to-day look like in the business now? What do you get to do daily on that? And then what do you have your team doing?
Yeah, and you had mentioned the size of my team. We're pretty lean, under 5 people with everybody. I do a lot of lifting, so whether it's oh, sorry, my screen just blanked. I thought it took me off. So whether it's under 5 people, and I forgot the question. My screen threw me off.
That's okay. That's all right. We can edit this part out. Yeah. I was just saying, what is like the things that you do in your business and versus your team and stuff like that? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I do keynote speaking, do podcasts, my own live events a couple times a week on other people's podcasts, do the business advisory, and then also producing a lot of content for Substack or LinkedIn, whichever it is. So coaching, content creation, speaking, and there's a book out there somewhere I'm going to write one day.
Yeah. It sounds like you got an incredible amount of experience. And you could share your story with the world. How did you kind of put a lot of what you've learned in these different businesses that you've launched into frameworks that you can then teach people? Like, what was that process like?
That's a great question, because for years people are like, how do you do what you do? Can you teach me? And honestly, most of it is just a God-given gift, and it's testing, failing, learning, and growing, getting that data, just continuous motion forward. But over the last 2 years in building the House of Bricks and having to communicate it consistently to people, we have developed those frameworks. So we've got the test, fail, learn, grow flywheel. Everything's a flywheel with us because we love that motion.
Yeah, sure.
Similar to Amazon. Relationship capital, having the entrepreneurial mindset, whether you live in a business or own your own business or not. And then we developed over the last 6 months, what was it, almost a year now, what we call our simple operating system. So building a business isn't easy, but it can be made simple. So simple is an acronym for strategy. Where are you now? Where do you want to go? How are you going to get there? I stands for innovation. So you want to be constantly testing, failing, learning, growing, testing, failing, learning, growing. The M stands for mindset. You're an entrepreneur. So, hey, I've got this great business I'm going to start. It's going to be awesome. Then you test a bunch of stuff, and then you get to the reality of the struggle zone, which is this is where you're going to spend 80% of the rest of your life as an entrepreneur is struggling. So you got to have a good mindset. And then the P stands for patterns. So people ask, how have you started businesses in different industries with no experience in any of them? Well, there's patterns in business. There's recognizable things that are industry agnostic. And so we look for those patterns in business. The L stands for leverage. So a lot of people try to leverage their business too soon. But if you're consistent, the compound effect, doing the small things consistently over time, that's what creates that massive hockey stick growth that we all want. And then the E stands for execution. So a lot of founders are executing too early and too often on the wrong things. They're just building a disaster. So after you've gone through that simple process, then you figured out what's working through the leverage, and then you just execute.
How do you find most of your community members, and do you have like a goal for the community of how large you want it to get? Or
no, we're in terms of goals, like right now shifted that community model of the 50 members. We gave them all founder status within Substack, so they get some time with me, they get exclusive content,
Sure.
but doing the monthly or weekly or bi-weekly coaching calls or community calls, just it's a lot of work for little return.
Okay.
So we're just moving them over to Substack. And then I think you were asking me where my business comes from as well. It's a lot of relationships. Again, relationship capital. Hey, Adam's a founder. He's helping founders grow. You want to raise capital. Get a lot of traction from LinkedIn and social media, but mostly from
Referrals and relationships that you have.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool. Talk to me about your content strategy. Like, how much thought do you put into it? Is there hours per week that you set aside to write? Like, what does your strategy and structure look like for content creation?
What I did from July of last year through March was I was posting twice a day on LinkedIn, writing all my own content, posting in the morning, reposting at 4:00, and then posting again that night. And I wrote 3 newsletters a week. So I became like a content machine, which I really enjoyed. But I also think I have some brain damage from the amount of time I was on social media. But if you do LinkedIn the right way, I had videos that would get 500 hours of watch time, one post. And so they're seeing your name, your thought leadership, and then whatever video you're putting in there. We were getting, 500, 600 hours of watch time. So if you think about it, they're associating my name with the thought leadership. And then we would use sometimes videos I made or just some viral video off of TikTok. And that video would be the hook to get people in, then they're reading and watching it. So that was a really good strategy, made a huge impact. And when I would go to events, people are like, wow, I've seen all your content on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, can you at least just throw me a like? Like, that's the thing with LinkedIn is people read it like a newspaper.
No one wants to like it.
Yeah, they don't like it.
You'll get like 13 likes. It's crazy.
Yeah. So that strategy did work. I mean, we were getting several hundred likes and 500 hours of watch time, but again, it wasn't sustainable. So I took 2 months off. I was like, I can't even open LinkedIn. I don't want to see it. But just now getting back into that rhythm, but try to stay within some sort of containers.
Yeah. I find that I have to like block the time. When I stepped into doing content a lot more, it was like, well, getting in a rhythm, it's such a creative endeavor. Even though you're just sharing your ideas, you still have to be able to conceptualize those ideas in a way that makes sense to the majority of people.
Yep.
And so it's a lot of like self-reflection, a lot of like, I got to get in this creative mode. It might take 30, 40 minutes to just like get in the mode.
Right.
So whenever I'm advising like franchisors or anyone else on content creation, I'm like, just if you've got a 40, 50, 60 hour a week running your business, you need to block the time when you're not going to be bothered by your business. Like, and if that means 5:30 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. or 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Until you can hire people to do some of those other roles, then that's when you got to do it.
Yep. Yeah, and the other thing, like, I'm not the best time blocker either. So like what you mentioned, the 5:30, that's when I was waking up at 5:30 just getting it done because it was before the world was coming at me. So I was kind of owning the morning, and that is a great strategy. But then you're always tempted to go back and look at it during the day. And here's the other thing with LinkedIn is when you do post, you need to hang out there for a minute and
reply to people,
engage with people. Like if you come and comment on my post, I should be there to respond back to you. And that's what LinkedIn wants, is your attention. So the more attention you give it, the more you're going to get rewarded. But you can't just post and ghost.
Yeah, no, exactly. How important is it to have the team that you have with House of Bricks? I saw the quality. You brought one of your guys over from another company you're with, right? Your COO?
Yes, Bill Joel. He's actually been with me for going on 17 years now. So
Wow.
I got connected with him with Velocitude. So he had just exited a company to Google, and he was
Wow.
in France, and he applied on. I posted the job on LinkedIn, and I was like, looking at his resume, I was like, there's no way this guy's real. He ran $1 billion P&L at Nortel. He sold a company to Google. And why is he applying for a job for a
Yeah.
mobile tech startup in South Florida? Well, his wife wanted to move to South Florida. He just popped on LinkedIn, but he came, and when he joined the company, he had experience in tech and recurring revenue and
Sure.
valuations and running money or raising money. I had no idea about any of that. So he brought that into kind of our ecosystem, and everywhere I've gone since then, I'm like, all right, Bill, here's the next thing. So he's like, all right, Adam, I got you. So everything I am in a visionary, strategy, drive, execution, he's CFO, COO, been
He's
CEO.
implementation
Yeah.
and visionary implementer or
Yep.
integrator.
Yes.
That's awesome. Those types of relationships are so valuable, especially when you know what you're good at. And it's like, okay, well, I know that I'm good at this thing. I need to do more of this thing, which means that I need to hire great people to do the other piece of it. Yeah, I mean, when I started thinking about like growing my company to the next level, it's like what as a majority shareholder in a company, your primary goal is allocating resources properly to increase the value of the company, right? Like, and your time and attention as a founder is a resource, a valuable one, I would argue. And so for me, I was like, well, it wouldn't make sense for me to have my COO or my director of operations jump into doing sales full time
Right.
if that's not what they're good at, right? Like that wouldn't make sense. That'd be a bad use of resources. So I just zoomed out and started thinking about my time and attention as a resource. And if you've got like your best guy, your best sales guy doing something he's not good at that's sucking his energy, then he goes back to sales and his energy is drained from doing that other thing. So it's like a double negative in terms of the resource that you're allocating there. And so I was like, content drove so much value for the company that I would go step into doing something there. And all of a sudden I've got a problem that I'm solving for the next 10, 11 days.
Right.
And during that time, I'm not inspired to hop on the computer and start talking about like leadership or franchising or, growth or whatever it is that I like to talk about. And so I was like, okay, well, this is a bad use of resources. And having those team members that are incredibly, that just allows you to utilize your resources better.
Yeah. And building a personal brand, it's really death by 1,000 opportunities. Should I go on TikTok? Should I be on Twitter? Should I be
Sure.
or X? Should I be on LinkedIn? Okay, Facebook. Okay, YouTube. All right, this guy's a Facebook ads guru. Like everyone's a guru, but they want a
Everyone's good. Yeah.
$25,000 retainer up front and no performance metrics. But
Yeah, and $2,500 a month
yeah,
for
nothing.
for
So
yeah.
it really is nothing. But one thing that we are doing within the House of Bricks also is I'm adding trusted advisors. So instead of companies thought leaders, entrepreneurs that want to get their voice and content out there, but they don't want to try to figure out Substack, they don't want to be on LinkedIn, we're having them contribute to the House of Bricks newsletter. So people
Okay.
get different thought leadership, whether like you in the trades or a venture capitalist. How do I raise money? How do I position for an exit? An M&A guy. How do I get the highest valuation? So manufacturing, technology. So just really making it a platform for thought leadership where people don't have to go and start from scratch. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. So
Yeah. Starting from scratch is really hard. It's
yeah,
you think about every person who has a personal brand and inevitably started with 0 followers at some point in time. And it's just to see people go from, I mean, 1 follower to thousands or even hundreds of thousands is, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. I go to these conferences, these franchise conferences, these small business conferences, and people come up to me and they're like, "How's your Ironman training going?" Like and I'm like, never met them before, and
Right.
it just shows the power of content.
People are spending time there, and the
Yeah,
more they see you, the more they recognize you, and whether they like or not, or engage in your posts or not, they are seeing it. So there's that halo effect, like you said, at events and people. I tell people to be patient. It's better to have 50 real followers than 500,000 fake ones. Just
fake ones. Yeah,
you can change the world with 100 people. Like
yeah,
you really can. So don't focus on the vanity metrics. Just be consistent, be yourself, and show up.
yeah. Well, Adam, this has been a great conversation. If people want to find you and learn more about House of Bricks or follow you online, where can they go?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Adam House Senior, House of Bricks. You can go to our website, houseofbricks.io, and love to reach out and have a conversation with people about their business.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Adam, for coming on the Scaling Podcast.
Thanks for having me.